After Noah's pale, moonlit return with Lily, the woman he adored, back to a country she despised, everything took a wild turn. It wasn't long before Noah had me locked up. When I eventually got out, there he was waiting to pick me up. "Don't rile her up again," he warned, even as I managed a small, ironic smile. "No need, I'm with a new guy now," I replied. Climbing into his car, the vehicle of his sworn enemy, Noah's expression instantly shifted. "You've got some nerve trying someone else," he growled. When I was released from prison, Noah arrived again to fetch me, this time driving a sleek sports car. Leaning against the door, he looked strangely out of place amid the dusty surroundings of the old prison grounds. He handed me a cigarette and remarked, "You've been through hell." Lighting it for me, he seemed unusually thoughtful. "Let's go buy some jewelry as an apology," he suggested. I studied his handsome face, those long, mysterious eyes framed by heavy lashes, forever masking his true thoughts. With a nonchalant smile, he said, "You go back and tell Lily you won't make her angry again. I'll find you a hidden villa where she won't find you." Lily, his fiancée and my sworn rival, held all the power to condemn me with a mere word. A power that once nearly led to my demise in prison. Now, somehow still alive, Noah expected me to make amends with her. His carefree appearance stirred memories from 3 years ago, when a similarly enigmatic Noah had offered me a cigarette in my time of destitution. "I heard your family's in shambles. Why not tag along?" he had said. At that time, my world had crumbled. My family was bankrupt, my father had abandoned us, and my seriously ill mother and I were left to fend for ourselves. Despite my mother's desperate need for money, a need so dire that even juggling 3 jobs wasn't enough, I found myself begging all my friends for any help they could spare. I even ended up on my knees, pleading, only to be met with ridicule. That circle worshipped wealth and looked down on the poor, pushing me to a dead end. In my darkest hour, Noah rescued me. I became his mistress. My mother received the treatment she so desperately needed. I moved into his villa, cruised in his sports car, and the rare, expensive jewelry that once felt so unattainable now belonged to me. Noah told me to just savor it all. As our relationship deepened, he kissed me in the quiet hours of the night, saying, "Just stay by my side and be happy. Don't overthink it." After facing bankruptcy, I overhauled my lazy ways. I forced myself to exercise, took up yoga to maintain a trim figure, and even indulged in medical beauty treatments to keep my appearance on point. I dusted off the piano and violin, always ready to perform for Noah, and studied economics, arts, and literature to have something interesting to say when needed. The harsh truth after bankruptcy was that if someone was willing to invest in you, you had better keep them happy. I used to have a reputation for being arrogant and unyielding in our social circle, but now I'd even learned baking, cooking, and horseback riding, skills that allowed me to be useful whenever Noah needed me at his country horse farm. There was a moment when Noah gently pinched my chin, his other hand caressing my face, saying, "Actually, you don't have to do all this fuss. Just dress up and look pretty." I gave him a sweet, standard smile. "Mr. Noah, I'm here to please you," I thought, recalling how he had saved me. I devoted myself to him so completely that I forgot I was merely his pastime, funded by his money. I even secretly began to fantasize about growing old with him. Before our family's ruin, I'd been a socialite, and nobody warned me that the cardinal rule for a mistress was never to fall in love. Falling in love, they said, only leads to misery, and I was oblivious. So, when Noah's pale, moonlit return with Lily occurred, retribution was inevitable. Noah loved Lily, and Lily adored Ethan. The day Lily chased Ethan overseas, Noah took me in. Later, I came to realize that Noah supported me simply because Lily and I were the least compatible pair in our social circle. Basically, archenemies. He was venting his frustration that Lily didn't love him. Back then, I mistakenly believed that Noah truly cared for me. When he stopped coming to see me for a while, I assumed he was just swamped. I called him, and he abruptly hung up. I figured he was busy. One day, he returned with red marks on his neck from sleeping with someone, and I dismissed it, thinking maybe he was just under the weather or had an allergic reaction. Early the next morning, after much struggle, he embraced me wearily, murmuring, I won't ignore you, trust me. I was touched, thinking he was finally making time for me. But when Lily showed up at my door, I realized just what he had been busy with. Lily looked at me like a champion dog sizing up a stray. Sophie, how can you be someone's mistress? She sneered. That night, Noah proposed to me, and I said yes. Lily showed me a ring and scoffed. Do you even know what a mistress is? I wouldn't waste my time on someone like that. Not worthy of being called a rival. Just an object for release. I recalled the time I'd shyly shown Noah that ring, imagining the wedding dress I'd wear. But now, that same ring adorned Lily's finger. I wanted to endure it, but I couldn't. The word whore echoed too harshly in my mind, and that ring shone too glaringly. Noah had always treated me so well that I felt entitled to compete with Lily. In a fit of rage, I raised my hand and swung, delivering 2 crisp slaps to Lily's face. I work out regularly, you know, I thought, as she stared at me coldly before letting out a mocking chuckle. Do you really think Noah spoils you? Dude, he's just using you to piss me off. Wait till you end up in tears. Anxiety gripped me at that moment. But later that night when Noah returned, he didn't scold me. Instead, he treated me even more harshly. Nearly asleep, he carried me to take a bath and murmured, Lily is important to me. You shouldn't hit her. Cuddled in his arms, I tried to keep my eyes open as he inhaled the scent of my cheap shampoo, remarking, You need a little punishment to behave. I blushed and shyly kissed his chin. I had been trained to be as delicate as a canary as long as I remained in his gilded cage, feeling both happy and secure. Later, Noah took me to his company and taught me about business, and I focused intently on learning everything he asked of me, no matter how odd the tasks. A month later, however, his lawyer accused me of embezzlement, a charge I didn't even understand. When I went to see Noah, the office was locked, and the usual password was no longer working. I called him on the number that was always open, but it was dead. Before I knew it, the police had arrested me and taken me back to prison, and I couldn't reach Noah at all. All I received was a cold message from his lawyer. Behave well in there. I'll take care of your mother. And that's how I ended up behind bars, feeling utterly hopeless. Prison life was brutal. I was beaten so soon after arrival that my eyes swelled shut, and the beatings continued until I was forced to kneel down, begging for mercy. There were moments when I felt I had died, only to fight back with the ferocity of a mad dog, biting anyone who dared provoke me. By the time I was released, no one in the women's prison dared mess with me. The former heiress and the other mistress had all perished in that ruthless environment. What remained was a battle-hardened mad dog. Carrying the remnants of my shattered life, that ferocious beast was finally set free, and Noah was waiting at the gate. He patted my head with a slight, almost casual smile and said, You better behave from now on. Don't make her mad. I'll still take care of you. He buried his head in my neck, sniffing the altered scent of my hair, now washed in cheap shampoo. Though the smell had changed, he confidently believed I was still that delicate canary who loved being caged. But I wasn't that anymore. I was a wounded, furious, mad dog full of hatred and vengeance. I pulled away from his embrace, and Noah frowned, asking, What's wrong? I pointed to a car parked nearby and replied, Sorry, I found a new man. Without another word, I got into the car. As the window rolled down slowly, a young, handsome, free-spirited face flashed a grin at Noah. His expression darkened gradually. Ethan, he muttered, recalling that Ethan once despised me for being from a self-made family, ridiculed by the old money elites. Yet, when I was in prison, the world seemed to have forgotten me, except for him. Ethan, with his long legs casually crossed, scanned me and said, I guess you're kind of pitiful. He remembered my transformation after bankruptcy, how I stopped wailing and actually worked hard as a mistress. He recalled 2 particular incidents. Once when a drunken, stumbling Noah nearly fell over during a night out, and I rushed to support him like a human cushion, even though my palm was scratched and bleeding. And another time when he saw me leaving a bookstore carrying a few modern art and investment books. And a week later, he heard that Noah had developed a fondness for modern art. leading to a surge in the value of a metal artwork. Leaning forward, he said, "I really feel sorry for you." I kept quiet, lowering my head, while Ethan smiled. "But I'm not blind, Sophie. When you're done, find me. I'm way more reliable than Noah." His words, though laced with a bit of streetwise charm, revealed a determination and fire in my eyes that he clearly appreciated. On the day of my release, right in front of Noah, I stepped into Ethan's car. Ethan chuckled as he drove, remarking that by choosing my car over Noah's, it must have really ticked him off. At a red light, Noah even pulled out his phone to snap a photo of me. "Picking up my babe. Let's celebrate tonight," he texted. Almost immediately, he messaged, "Sophie, is this how you want to play? Who doesn't know I've been with you for 3 years? Do you really think anyone wouldn't care?" I stared out the window, speechless. Somewhere deep inside, there was a sharp, painful ache, an awareness that someone who'd been with me for 3 years knew exactly how to dismantle my self-esteem. The more it hurt, the more I began to despise Lily, Ethan noted. In our circle, there was a bizarre tendency. When someone we admired turned indifferent, we would obsess over them even more. Ethan, ever the rebel, once let Lily pay for drinks for everyone except him, and, in a bad mood, he slammed his glass down, turned away, and refused to acknowledge her. That act only made Lily chase him more, even abroad. One day, Lily urgently called Ethan. "When did you two get together?" And he coolly replied, "Just now," confessing his love without any pretense. Lily, in a fit of anger, retorted, "Don't you know? Sophie, let Noah have his 3-year fling with her, and when he's over it, he kicks her to jail. Noah never even saw her as anything special." I bit my lip, closing my eyes, aware that Ethan wasn't really after me in that way. Still, I gritted my teeth as memories of my painful past mocked me. Life has a way of shattering your pride. Sometimes it doesn't need a grand catastrophe, just a bankruptcy filing or a sick mom to force you to your knees. Lily and I had competed for years in dresses, jewelry, travel, connections, and boyfriends. And though we were neck and neck, fate had decided a winner. Lily won, but it was pure luck, and I lost to destiny. Ethan, with one hand on the wheel and the other gently patting mine, broke Lily's rant. "Shouldn't you be ashamed?" he said. Confused, Lily fell silent as Ethan repeated, "Aren't you the one who should be ashamed? You, who have known Sophie since childhood, with your own family's struggles. Yet, instead of defending her, you helped a man trample over a girl's reputation. How's that for manhood? I'm not disgusted by Sophie, I'm disgusted by your heart." Lily cried out in anger and hung up, leaving me staring blankly at Ethan. He raised an eyebrow and remarked, "Guess I can be pretty eloquent, huh?" I just nodded dazedly. Then, as the car emerged from the shade and the sunlight lit up Ethan's face with a warm, gentle glow, I couldn't help but smile and say, "Thanks, man." That very night at the restaurant, Ethan proudly announced our relationship to a group of people. When Lily arrived with Noah, her chin held high, Ethan embraced me and said, "This is my girlfriend. Take good care of her." One of Lily's friends interjected, "But weren't you with Noah? I saw you two dining together the day before he got jailed." Lily laughed while Noah, with a cold expression, said, "We weren't together. It was just a fling." Glancing at me, wrapped in Ethan's arms, a hint of cruelty played across his smile. "Old toys. Once you're tired of them, toss them aside." I clenched my fist, itching to retort, but Ethan patted me on the back and whispered, "Don't worry, I got this." He raised his glass teasingly. "Why is Noah looking so pale? Is he feeling sick? Take care of yourself then, 'cause you're treating it like a game while someone else is suffering. You think it's all fun, but for the other person, it's just over too quickly." Noah interjected, "What do you mean?" Leaning against me, tall and imposing, Ethan replied, "It means nothing. Just heard a lot of gripes from Sophie, that's all." He pinched my cheek gently. "Right, Sophie?" I blushed and nodded shyly. "Why do you remember all that?" "Don't bring it up in front of everyone," Noah warned, his face growing even paler. The room fell silent, and all eyes awkwardly turned towards him. Noah gritted his teeth, but stayed quiet. Usually, his temper would have sent him storming out, but today, despite his anger, he remained. truly surprised me. After a few more drinks, feeling tipsy, I stepped out into the corridor for some fresh air. In under a minute, Noah followed me, standing right beside me, asking, "Were those words really from you? Telling Ethan all that?" I smirked and replied, "You gotta guess, Noah." His pale face demanded, "I'm not guessing. Tell me yourself. You used to tearfully beg me to confess my love to you." I frowned and cut him off. "I didn't tell Ethan any of that." He sighed in relief, but I continued. "Every time I was with you, it was like I was scoring points in some twisted game. I never cared about your performance. I just didn't feel a thing." Noah's expression darkened further. I smiled coyly at him. "Am I faking it well? Am I really worth the allowance you give me?" Noah snapped, "Sophie, you're just trying to rile me up." I shrugged and walked toward the private room. "If you're feeling provoked, so be it, as long as you're happy," I retorted. Noah grabbed my wrist and growled, "You think you can just leave once you've got the upper hand? Don't you care about your mother anymore?" I shook off his grip. "Don't threaten me. I'm not your mistress now." His face registered shock and he stuttered, "Dedicated?" It was as if he suddenly grasped something, squinting his eyes. "Are you just pretending to obey?" I replied quietly, "When my family wasn't bankrupt, Lily and I fought for years. How could I truly be obedient?" I passed him without looking back. "Noah, you need to understand something. Once you fire someone, don't expect them to return. There are plenty of companies out there." I added, "By the way, Ethan even covered my mother's treatment for a year yesterday." Arj. Noah had kept his promise when I was in prison. My mother's expenses were never delayed for a single day, and he'd visited her a few times. Yet, at that time, he claimed I was like a sister on a business trip, taking care of the elderly in my absence. My mother, immobile and unable to reach me, was comforted by Noah's kind words. But I felt nothing but resentment. I had worked tirelessly as his mistress, and if there were an award for dedication, I'd have won it hands down. But he wasn't a good boss. Instead of promoting or increasing our pay, he sent us to prison. As I reached the door of the private room, I turned back and mocked him. "Noah, you're such a hypocrite. Which brother would sleep with his own sister?" Noah's face turned red with anger. "Is it the prison that's made you so vulgar?" he retorted. "When I first got to prison, I treaded carefully, like walking on thin ice. No one dared offend me. But then I was nearly beaten to death, couldn't even get a bowl of soup. Later, I fought back and ended up bedridden, unable to move. Nova was the one who protected me, smooth and ruthless. No one dared mess with her." Hearing about my family's bankruptcy, Nova had fallen silent for a moment and sighed. "Before you came in, I visited your father on behalf of the company," she'd said. "She shared her food with me and taught me how to read people, how to please the tough ones. She showed me how to fight, either to endure a hit or risk your life if you fight back. You might survive a hit, but fighting back is never a sure thing. Think carefully." Nova's words echoed in my mind as I looked at my blood-stained arms and closed my eyes. I had earnestly wanted to be a dedicated mistress, only to end up behind bars. I had wanted to be a well-behaved prisoner, but instead I was treated like a stray mutt. I'd had enough, fed up with a world that bullied the weak. I once hoped to compromise in this unforgiving world, softening my wealthy lady pride until it crumbled into dust. But the world just kept ignoring me. I lay in bed, watching my blood stain the sheets red, while my pride slowly pieced itself back together, bit by bit, until I could lift my head again, even if it was covered in dirt and shame. From that day forward, I vowed never to compromise or simply endure. I might let go of life itself, but losing my dignity was never an option. I would reclaim the lost respect, even if it meant risking everything. Every day, I fought relentlessly, trading scars for dignity. The price being numerous, fierce marks, and the end of ever wearing revealing clothes. And now, I was forced to relive those prison incidents within our circle. When I returned, I hadn't known what Ethan had already told others, yet everyone regarded me with newfound respect. Ethan's family, though new money, was rapidly rising, making people both look down on and fear them, even warning their children not to mess with them. After a meal, a tipsy Ethan grabbed my hand and led me outside, where Noah's expression darkened. "Where do you think you're going?" he asked. "Going home with Ethan. What else?" I replied, puzzled. Noah took a deep breath, gritted his teeth. "Shouldn't you go check on your mom?" I blinked. "Now? In the middle of the night?" Noah fell silent. Lily, looking uneasy, spoke up. "Noah, I'm not feeling well." Then he seemed to remember something. "I'll take you home." As I got into Ethan's car, my phone buzzed with a message from Noah. "I'll give you one more chance. Come back to me." I couldn't help but chuckle and show the message to Ethan. Leaning on his chin, Ethan said, 3 points. I asked, "When can I strike back?" "Over 8 points," he replied, and I nodded, closing my eyes in silent agreement. We sat together in the back seat for a while in silence. Eventually, Ethan dropped me off at an empty apartment he owned. As I stepped out, he suddenly remarked, "New money isn't all brainless. Some of us are reliable." I didn't really get why he said that, so I just nodded blankly. He stared at me, his eyes glimmering in the dark. "After everything's done, what do you want to do?" I shook my head. "Haven't really thought about it." He smiled warmly, then closed the door, leaving me to wander upstairs with a charming, reflective smile on my face. Early the next morning, I received a call from my mother's hospital. "Miss Sophie, sorry, we don't have any more beds available. We'll refund your fees. Please transfer your mother to another hospital." I was stunned. How could they do that? But then it hit me. The hospital was partly owned by Noah's family. I called Ethan, who immediately arranged for a better hospital for my mother. In less than an hour, she was settled in by Ethan and the doctor, while I stayed behind to pack her things. He was impressively efficient. Just then, Noah appeared. I saw him lingering at the doorway, blocking my exit. "Don't you want to see me?" he asked. I raised an eyebrow and replied, "You can't even handle a sick person like my mom, and you expect me to be grateful to you?" Noah frowned. "Sophie, you know how to make me change my mind. Stay away from Ethan, and maybe I'll consider continuing your mom's treatment." I interrupted him sharply. "No need to worry about the fact that I had my mom moved to a different hospital." I just stepped aside, making sure he saw that the room was completely empty. Now there's nothing binding us together anymore. Noah was momentarily taken aback before clenching his teeth. "You really think you can just walk away?" he said icily. "What's gotten into you? So what if Ethan is younger, way more handsome, and doesn't have an annoying ex to worry about?" I let out a short laugh. "Noah, where do you even compare to him? Not one bit." His temple veins bulged as he growled, "Sophie, you're really testing my patience." Grabbing my chin roughly, he demanded, "How dare you behave like this?" With a surge of anger, he planted a kiss on me, trying to assert control. His grip on my arms was unyielding, pinning them behind my back so I couldn't break free. I stopped struggling, like a marionette surrendering to Noah's will, and remained completely unresponsive. After a pause, Noah observed, "You weren't like this before. When I kissed you, you would at least react." I wiped my mouth dismissively, recalling the time when I was all about being obedient and devoted to my work. His expression darkened as he forcefully cupped my face and kissed me again, yet I still stood there like a lifeless doll. "Sophie, what on earth is going on with you?" he demanded, incredulous. I sneered, snatching some alcohol wipes from my bag and scrubbing my mouth vigorously, unconcerned about the harsh smell. "What's with me? I'm done." Back then, I poured my heart into him and he locked me up like a criminal. And now he comes back asking what's changed? I tossed the used wipe into the trash and strode past him. "Thanks for booting my mom out of the hospital, Noah. Now there's absolutely nothing connecting us. Hope you're stoked." Noah growled behind me. "Sophie, you used to love me. I could see it in your eyes." I chuckled even more. Man, one of us really needs an eye exam. I dialed Ethan and gave him a quick rundown. When I mentioned that Noah had kissed me twice, Ethan paused. "I'll be with you when you see him," he said, leaving me a bit perplexed. "What about the plan?" I asked. "I picked you because you're strong, but taking down Noah doesn't need you, Ethan." Calmly, he replied, "At least, not like this." I hung up and took a few steps forward, noticing from the corner of my eye that Noah was approaching, his brows furrowed, an expression unsuspecting as he left the hospital toward the parking lot. I pretended to check my phone and headed in that same direction, aiming to stage a chance encounter. When I finally reached him, I deliberately twisted my high heel harshly and hurled myself to the ground. My ankle immediately swelled, and sharp pain shot through me, but it hardly mattered. I was already used to pain from my prison days. Noah hesitated, then rushed over to me, his concern growing with every step. Even though my brow throbbed, a small part of me felt relieved. I scored 2 points for myself. It's weird how things that come easy are taken for granted, while those that are out of reach can dominate your thoughts day and night. Now, here was Noah, wrapping his arms around me with genuine worry. He'd never shown any such care in jail. He'd even taken me to the doctor, carefully managed my meds. Lily once called him, and he answered, "Lily, I'm in a meeting now. Call back later." Then hung up. I lowered my gaze, reminded of how he used to cut off my calls back then and how naively I had trusted him. CT scans, broken bones, makeshift protective gear, limited movement. Noah had reassured me, "It's nothing, you'll be fine in a few days." I nodded, knowing full well that the old Sophie would have treated a broken bone like a major catastrophe, confined to bed for 3 months. But the Sophie who'd been in jail treated a broken bone as casually as losing a lock of hair. Just eat, fight, and sleep. Standing up, I revealed the monstrous scars on my waist, remnants of a toothbrush that had stabbed me repeatedly. In prison, I learned that even an A4 paper, folded into a stick, could serve as a weapon. Noah's hand, still firm on my arm, froze as he pointed at my waist in disbelief. "What happened here?" I replied coolly, "Got stabbed in prison." Noah's face went pale, as if he'd just heard something horrifying. Limping along without any need for protection, I said nothing more. Noah finally caught up with me in long strides, pulling me into a hug from behind. "You used to be scared of pain," he muttered. "I didn't expect this at all. People like them would never know what prison was like." He hugged me tighter. "I get why you've been ignoring me, Sophie. Just give me a chance to make things right." I lowered my eyes. Before long, Noah dropped me off downstairs, relieved that I wouldn't be crashing with Ethan. "Why don't you move back in with me?" "I'm worried about you taking care of yourself," he asked gently. I looked at him, surprised. "Forget Ethan. What if Lily finds out? Are you going to throw me back into jail?" Noah lowered his eyes, disappointed. "No, not this time. I didn't think it would be that bad. I assumed you'd simply lose your freedom." I laughed, recalling the confidence I once had, convinced that someone like him would only care about a fling born out of spite. I waved him off. "You got Lily. I got Ethan. Don't go stirring up trouble. It's not going to work between us." Noah said nothing further. As I went upstairs to freshen up and have dinner, I peeked out the window and saw Noah still downstairs, chain smoking away. After he left, I messaged Ethan with an update. Later that night, Ethan showed up with iodine and some protective gear. While rambling on about his regrets, he mentioned that Noah hadn't even thought to get me any proper protection. He'd just tried to send money. Carefully, Ethan placed the gear on my foot and treated my abrasions with iodine. He frowned. "You're way too reckless." I shrugged. "How else am I going to pull this off?" Ethan wrapped my foot in gauze, clearly worried. "If your plan is to rely on this reckless streak, then I'd rather stop it." I could sense the deep concern behind his eyes. "I know, but I gotta do this on my own. It's become an obsession. If I don't, I'll live with regret forever." Ethan looked up at me. "But you can take your time." I shook my head firmly. "Ethan, you don't get it. If I don't do it myself, I'll always be haunted by that regret." After a long pause, Ethan finally agreed. "All right, but what happens once you're done? You gotta think ahead. You can't just retire to jail, can you?" I sighed. "I honestly don't know yet. I just want to bring Noah down." Ethan then asked, "So, do you have any hobbies? I mean, you learned a lot from following Noah. Do you have any interest outside of him?" I thought for a minute. "Honestly, nothing. Everything was just for his sake." Ethan pressed further. "What about before Noah? I wasn't sure why he cared, but memories of a time when my family hadn't gone bankrupt came flooding back. I used to really enjoy gardening. My balcony was lush with vibrant flowers and plants, and there was even a greenhouse in the yard, all maintained by yours truly, without a single servant in sight. Ethan nodded thoughtfully, got up, and said, I'll hook you up with a part-time maid so you can take a breather. Don't go chasing after Noah. I shook my head. Nah, don't treat me like a weakling. You've seen what I was in jail. You know exactly what I'm like. Ethan smiled warmly. You're exactly the one I picked. After Ethan left, my nights were filled with vivid dreams. I'd dream of my little garden where every flower had withered, unable to be watered in prison. I cried out to Noah, Lily, and all my friends, but they just laughed and watched me, unwilling to lend a hand. Finally, Ethan reached out. I can help you, but you gotta help me take him down, he said, clearly referring to Noah. I stared at Noah's cold expression in my dream and nodded fiercely through the night. In the morning, I found 2 messages on my phone. One was from Noah, checking in to see if I was still in pain and promising breakfast, and the other was from Ethan, sending an address for a large tract of land on the outskirts. When everything is over, would you like this place to become your garden? He asked. I didn't reply. I once trusted and depended on someone, and it ended in a total disaster. Now, I don't want to depend on anyone ever again. I survived in the harsh confines of prison. Why should I rely on anyone now? Early the next morning, Noah showed up looking for me, but I wasn't there. He called, Where did you go so early? I replied that I was grabbing a sandwich at a convenience store, and apparently, Ethan had been worried and taken me to get a checkup at the hospital. Noah wasn't too happy about it. But I brought you breakfast and some pain reliever, I retorted. Ethan's heading to the office soon, so if you're free, wait for me. If not, forget it. Noah hesitated, gritted his teeth, and finally said, I'll wait. He'd never been one to wait for anyone. Everyone else was always waiting on him, and I sensed his unhappiness. That day, I went shopping, had afternoon tea, and spent the entire morning out and about. After 3 long years in prison, I had nearly forgotten what it felt like to simply shop. At 10, Noah called again, asking if I was coming back. I was getting my nails done and explained, Ethan wants to have lunch with me. He asked that you wait for him, then you can head back. I hung up. Soon after, Noah called again, and I chose not to pick up. A while later, he sent me a message. Sophie, don't treat me like this. I know you're getting your nails done. I can hear it. You used to care so much about me. Why are you acting this way now? It hurts. I glanced at my phone and chuckled. Before prison, I had texted him pleading, Noah, don't treat me this way. I'm scared. But he never replied except to have his lawyer tell me to reform. I shot back a message. I'll be another hour. Can you wait? Noah replied with a single word, wait. An hour later, I saw Noah's silver Bentley parked downstairs. He was leaning against the car door, chain-smoking. When he caught sight of me, his eyes opened wide in the smoky haze, and he asked accusingly, You did that on purpose, making me wait. He looked confused. Sophie, you used to be so caring. What can I do to bring back that old you? Then, lowering his head, he murmured, I know you still love me, Sophie. I give up, okay? I simply looked at him quietly, his head bowed. After a moment, I extended my hand. Noah, I can't walk anymore. Help me upstairs. Without protest, he bent down, scooped me up, and carried me upstairs. He took care of everything, pouring water for me, helping me take off my shoes, things he'd never done before. He even went down to the grocery store, took off his expensive suit jacket, and prepared a meal for me. Watching him busily taking care of things, I couldn't help but feel resentful toward the old me. If this could make Noah change his heart, then what was the point of all my past efforts? Later, while Noah was in the kitchen making soup, Lily called. It was Lily's birthday tomorrow, and it also marked the anniversary of Noah's engagement to her. Lily asked what they were planning for the celebration. Noah, focused on the bubbling soup, replied a bit impatiently, Figure it out yourself. He then hung up, served me a bowl of soup, and said, Break up with Ethan, all right? I can cook for you and take care of you forever. Looking at my waist, he added, I owe you. I drank the soup in silence as Noah helped me tidy the room. Meanwhile, I answered a call from Ethan. Hey, what's up, Ethan? Is Noah there? I asked. Yeah, he replied. Wait for me. You can't be moving around so freely. I'm worried he'll take advantage of you, I said sternly. Ethan hesitated a moment before gritting his teeth. I shouldn't have teamed up with you in the first place. It's been a hassle every single day. We hung up, and Noah asked, Ethan? I nodded. He's afraid you'll get bored, so he wants me to work at his company. Noah put on his coat and left, clearly upset. However, he soon returned. Our family has a business in another city. How about we go there? You could be a manager straight away, he said eagerly. Sophie, let's leave this city behind and start fresh. I paused and then nodded. All right, I'll give you another chance. Noah was as excited as a kid, and I knew that deep down he couldn't let go of me. I smiled softly and thought, 8 points, let's get started. Noah got me into that company, which wasn't directly tied to his family business, so the public never suspected its true nature. Then Ethan flew in, worried that Noah might take advantage of me while I was there. He looked me straight in the eyes and said, The plan isn't the priority now. Your safety is. I avoided his gaze and changed the subject. Back when it came to matters of the heart, being on the back foot was enough. I dove into my new role at the company, and at first no one was sure about me. But I could handle the schemers, the criminals, even the mistresses with ease. Handling a regular job turned out to be a piece of cake. I worked hard, learned fast, and soon my colleagues began accepting me. Noah visited me frequently, his admiration for me plain as day. I gradually earned everyone's trust, even if I wasn't allowed to handle the company's core business. The finance department eventually warmed up to me. I found myself staying late into the night, working in the empty office until the early hours. One night, a tipsy Noah called me, Sophie, I bought a villa nearby. It's all fully furnished. He said, I checked it out. There's a top-notch international school in the area. If we ever have kids, we won't have to worry about their education. I was puzzled. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Noah grinned widely. I want to build a home with you in that city, have a few kids. I raised an eyebrow. What about Lily? Noah just shrugged. She won't be coming to this city, and she won't have anything to do with you. This place will be all ours. I felt a wave of disgust, but I managed a gentle smile. Then you better give me a promotion first. The next week, I was promoted to vice president of the company. I poured my heart and soul into the work, rarely leaving the office until there wasn't a single soul around. That was when I could really get things done. Ethan even assigned 2 programmers to help me hack into the company's computers late at night to extract what I needed. Every day, I burned the midnight oil, slept only 4 hours, and before I knew it, I had lost 10 pounds. My eyes were haunted by dark circles, my lymph nodes were swollen, and I occasionally broke out in rashes from the stress. Ethan frowned and asked, Are you really willing to put your life on the line to drive Noah away? Is it really worth it? I simply smiled and replied, Oh, it's totally worth it. I was once beaten down, my face stomped on and dragged in the dirt, but believe me, I've always been more vain than brave. Late at night in the office, while chugging strong coffee, I found myself thinking about Nova. She wasn't just the one who taught me how to survive in prison. She schooled me on everything, from falsifying accounts and laundering money to manipulating the stock market and distinguishing major events from minor ones. After my release, Nova had even helped fix my hair, sighing, We're both abandoned kids. I gotta stick around for a few more years, but you're something else. There was a fierce glint in her eyes. Go out there and show everyone that even abandoned kids can turn the tables. Nova had once been a senior executive at Noah's company until they framed her, sentencing her to over 10 years. That was how they did things. Once you weren't useful anymore, they'd cast you aside without a second thought, as if it were no big deal. I, however, found their laughter utterly infuriating. I wanted to overturn their so-called chessboard using the identity of a castaway and maybe even crush their high and mighty attitudes. I put down my coffee, stashed away the hard drive, and went downstairs to have dinner with Ethan. He'd been keeping me company for the last 6 months. With a smile, he remarked, My parents are always full of energy, and here I am, stuck in the company. It's starting to bug them. Lowering his head to cut his steak, he casually added, I might as well stick around with you. I sipped my white wine and smoothly changed the subject. It's been half a year now. The evidence collection is nearly done. Ethan raised his glass and sneered. Thank goodness you won't have to see Noah ever again. Can you believe that guy still wants to settle down with you even though he's engaged? I chuckled. How can you have moral high ground when it comes to Noah? My hard drive is almost bursting with evidence of his family's money laundering, shady foreign exchange dealings, and securities manipulation. They act all high and mighty like they're untouchable. But trust me, behind that facade is a nasty, foul-smelling underbelly. This company was Nova's little creation for doing all the dirty work for Noah's family. She knew exactly where to find the evidence on each person's computer. I'd been over there before, and she'd even gotten a reduced sentence for cooperating. When I saw her, she smiled broadly. Sophie, you're looking so good now that you've cleaned up. Don't come back here, though. This place is jinxed. I nodded with a grin. Okay, I'll wait outside to meet you. Just as I was leaving, I casually mentioned, the evidence against Noah's family is locked down. They're all going to be exposed. Nova froze for a moment, nodded, and with tears brimming in her eyes, urged me to leave quickly. As I stepped out, I could hear her crying inside. No one dared mess with Nova in prison. She'd always been willing to fight till the end. Right now, she looked like a wounded little kid with a ton of grievances. She had sold herself to Noah's family at 22, worked her tail off for over a decade only to be abandoned and thrown into jail in mere seconds. Compared to her, my grievances were nothing. Taking a deep breath as I left the prison, I made a call. Hello, I want to report entrepreneur Noah for money laundering. With Ethan's help, the evidence went viral online. Public opinion was in an uproar, and Noah's family soon found themselves under the relentless scrutiny of the masses. In a panic, Noah's empire started crumbling, and Ethan seized the chance to take over many of their businesses. With the intensity of a wolf on the hunt, Ethan devoured his opportunity. Despite all this, Noah hadn't come to see me for a month, until one day he called with a firm, "It's you." I replied with a nod, "Yeah." Noah sounded puzzled. "Why? Haven't I been good enough for you?" I laughed bitterly. Listen, these young bucks, if they condescend and think someone should be eternally grateful, they've got another thing coming. I remembered a dream I once had where Noah fell for me purely because I was so dedicated. A fairy tale ending, like Cinderella marrying her prince. I laughed with tears in my eyes, mourning my past foolishness. Greetings from Nova to your prison-bound family. Hope you enjoy your stay, I added. Noah fell silent for several seconds. How do you know Nova? He finally asked. Thanks to you. I got to know her in prison, I replied. Abruptly, Noah hung up. I might not have had the power to physically hurt him, but Nova was enough to make him tremble. In a last-ditch effort, Noah managed to hire top lawyers to sue me for business crimes. But before any case could be filed, his entire family collapsed. Noah was the first to fall, followed by several others, all ending up behind bars. I later went to see Nova again, only to hear from the guards that she was behaving well enough to potentially be released in 5 years. Nova smiled as she recounted. Sending others to prison all along, now it's their turn to taste their own medicine. She then asked, "So what's your next move?" I paused and pictured my old little garden, once fragrant and delicate. I might just open up a flower shop, I said. Nova laughed. Count me in. I'll come work at your shop. I laughed too. With you on board, why not take it public? Walking out of the prison, I hopped into Ethan's car. As he drove, he casually asked, "Want to come over to my place? I'll give you a cut." I shook my head firmly. From now on, we don't need to see each other so often. I got my own stuff to handle. Ethan made a turn and pulled over. What do you mean? How do you see me? I turned to him, puzzled. Just as a teammate, nothing more, he mumbled, eyebrows drooping slightly as he drove off. After about 50 meters, he stopped again and said, "Does it have to be just teammates? Maybe it doesn't have to be that way." I looked at his disappointed expression, like a golden retriever missing its favorite chew toy, and burst into laughter. The sunlight played on his face just like the day he had picked me up from prison. I lowered my head, trying to stifle a smile. Let's see how it goes. Ethan, surprised, exclaimed, So, does this mean there's hope? He turned the steering wheel with renewed energy, whistling as we drove forward. The sunlight ahead was perfect, warm and comforting. Several years later, on a sunny afternoon, I found myself tending to my flowers and plants in the flower shop I'd built. A disheveled woman walked in, hesitating as if she wanted to buy a bouquet, but then changed her mind. I called out in surprise, "Sophie, what are you doing here?" After staring at her for a long moment, I finally recognized her as Lily. Her family had hit hard times, and she no longer wanted to follow the path of becoming someone's mistress. But I couldn't just belittle her. If it weren't for her, I might have ended up with Noah. I never believed that Noah would find a mistress fascinating for too long. Maybe the day would come when even going to jail wouldn't be enough to keep him interested. Lily, worn down over the years and with her initial arrogance long gone, looked at me with a hint of jealousy. "You made it. You own a flower shop and even lease a huge flower field in the suburbs. And the news is all over it, but you've ruined us." I lowered my head. "You should be grateful I didn't end up like you, locking people away just because I didn't like them." Then, in a bold move, I lifted my shirt to reveal the deep scar on my waist, a testament to the time I was stabbed multiple times with a toothbrush, a wound that looked like a gaping maw with sharp fangs silently staring back. Lily took a few hesitant steps back, too scared to speak. I chuckled lightly. "You scared already?" I added, "I could tell you all about my prison time if you really want to be even more freaked out." Lily trembled. "You're not trying to scare me, are you?" I shook my head. "Nah, I'm not trying to make things harder for you." To cut it short, the one who personally sent me to prison was Noah. You're just an accomplice who's learned her lesson. I handed her a black lily. "Take this as a birthday gift, but don't come back to my shop, all right?" Lily's face flushed red as she stared at the flower and then bolted out. After a few moments, she came back, picked up the lily again, and with red, tearful eyes said, "I know what you mean, but I haven't had flowers in ages." Lowering her head, she choked out, "I'll take it as your blessing." Watching her tearful departure, I paused, then took the black lily back from her hand and exchanged it for an African chrysanthemum. "Don't come back again," I said firmly. After Lily left, Nova stepped out from behind a shelf of flowers. "Ah, softened up, huh? But she's not the main culprit," she remarked. I shook my head. "Let's go check out the next shop." At that moment, Ethan stuck his head out of his car at the shop door, asking, "Where to next?" I grinned. "I'll drive you, Nova." She teased, "Is he still your teammate? When did that change?" As we walked toward Ethan, I replied casually, "It's coming soon. When I'm strong enough, when I don't fear betrayal or pain, when I'm not scared of love's side effects, I'll smile and embrace it." The sunlight shone warmly on both Ethan's and my faces as I closed my eyes, soaking in that comforting glow. And that, my friend, is how everything changed.